You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Marchese, mining analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Great to be back.
We're taking a look at a few things, how the precious metals are doing right now. We're expecting some kind of fireworks, perhaps, from the U.S. Fed, maybe the appointment of a new chair, and also platinum and palladium. How are they doing, especially considering the political and labor scene in South Africa? Well, let's take a look at the debt ceiling deadline so far. The hard deadline is October 17th, but you say we probably should expect something by the 1st if the government's going to do anything solid?
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying, although last time, it went down to the 11th hour, so, it wouldn't be surprising to see that again.
What do you think they're going to do? Can the Republicans and Democrats, for once, do the civilized thing and actually hammer out a financial plan?
I think they'll do a kind of an abbreviated financial plan just for a short period of time. I know that the Democrats refuse to repeal Obamacare, which is what the Republicans are really demanding. But, the best thing that the Democrats have offered is to delay it 1 year and start in 2015. And what the Republicans want is that plus some of the unfunded liabilities cut, such as Social Security and pensions, which, I think the public would have a very hard time digesting, just because if you planned your life around your retirement and what you expected to be paid, and then have those payments cut, there'd be a big, upheaval about it, depending on, how many it affects.
What is this talk doing to the precious metals market?
The precious metals initially moved up following the announcement that they're not tapering. But then they had one of the Fed presidents, James Bullard, come out and say that they might do a small taper beginning in October, and because one of the biggest tools they think is psychology, which affects everyone's expectations. But the following day and days, 3 other Fed presidents came out and said, basically the opposite. William Dudley, Dennis Lockhart, and one other federal official said, Lockhart basically said the U.S. has lost its mojo, and Dudley said they need to maintain the size of its bond buying purchase, and it's the recovery probably won't gain steam until 2014.
Who do you think is going to be the new Fed chair?
The front runner is definitely Janet Yellen, and I'm 95 or 99% convinced that it'll be her, primarily because the only real opponent she had was Larry Summers, who dropped out, and the clock is ticking till they have to announce the next Fed chairman, which will be in October sometime.
And the reaction, if it's Yellen, what kind of monetary policies has she had in the past?
She's very dovish, even more so than Ben Bernanke. And she basically, she believes she doesn't really understand inflation, and that combined with the fact that she doesn't believe that you can have inflation while there's a lot of excess capacity in the economy like there is now. It's, just a lot of slack. So I actually think that she'll increase QE or, add some other type of asset purchase program, to reduce the excess capacity in the economy, because she doesn't believe that, inflation will pick up, as long as that slack remains. And she's also, one of her 2 major concerns is the labor market, which, although it's improved if you just read the headlines, as we talked about, I think it was last week or the prior week, was the participation rate has dropped to a low not seen since 1978.
Wow, so people just aren't looking for jobs anymore?
Yeah, and they're not or they're not counted anymore because they've stopped receiving unemployment insurance.
Yeah, that's one of the sad stats in Canada and the U.S. As soon as you drop off the employment insurance rolls, you no longer exist as an unemployed person. Very interesting. Other countries have a different way to measure it. One of the experts I talked to said he would peg real U.S. unemployment closer to 23%, not 7%.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even the former head of the BLS was saying 11%, and I think that's conservative. And you know as well as I do, John Williams thinks it's much closer to 20%.
Yeah, it was John Williams who said that. Absolutely.
So, and I believe it.
We're talking with Chris Marchese, mining analyst for the Morgan Report. You're listening to HoweStreet.com radio. We're back right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. I'm chatting with Chris Marchese. Chris, what about platinum and palladium? Do you think there's going to be some big-time plays on those precious metals?
Yes, they typically, there's a few reasons, to be bullish on them. For one, they typically trade with the other precious metals, although they're not considered, monetary metals, but still trade with gold and silver. And, secondly, the supply, dynamics of both these metals, looks great. South Africa, produces a lot of platinum. And because of the labor strikes and the cost of mining, not very much platinum is going to be produced next year or the year after. Meanwhile, the same goes for palladium, although a lot of that's produced in Russia as well. But on the demand side, you have even in the U.S., car loans are like housing loans were going in 2006, 2007. They're easy to get. Everyone's getting them. That's why the auto sales picked up. But also the Chinese, their urbanization is causing them to, start buying vehicles, whereas they didn't have them in the past. The rate of ownership I heard last was equivalent to that of the U.S. in the 1920s. So they got a long way to go, and even if they hit a recession or things like that, their savings rate will allow them to keep improving their standard of living, and cars being a big part of that.
And China has said it's going to adopt Western pollution standards. That means catalytic converters on their vehicles. They use platinum
and palladium. So that's what's, going to drive the demand side for both.
And here in the Vancouver area, we've had waves of thieves raiding car dealerships overnight, cutting the catalytic converters from larger vehicles, especially the larger trucks and SUVs. A lot of platinum and palladium in both of those devices. And somehow they're reselling them. Yeah,
and unfortunately, that's probably going to continue and increase as the prices of those metals go up.
No doubt. You're going to have to have your alarm system extend somehow to your catalytic converter.
Yeah, so, the precious metals, the whole complex, all four metals are looking great right now. Yeah, there's downside to them, but it's very limited at this point. For example, in gold, as we talked about, the Chinese, when it gets around $1,300 or goes under, they come in, start buying, so much gold that it doesn't stay at that level for very long.
Yes, and of course they want it as cheap as possible. And China, I think it was you who told me, at the rate that they're buying physical gold, they could have a real stranglehold on the world's supply by the end of the year.
Yeah, they'll have consumed, or not consumed, but, obtain the 2013 world mine production. And again, like we said, the central bank, the Chinese are a little sneaky, so they're probably not reporting nearly as much as they're actually buying.
And they're also encouraging their private citizens to buy gold.
Yeah, they've been doing that for the last few years, gold and silver. They've even started selling them in some banks. So, although we don't see the precious metal craze like we did in the 70s, there's one going on in India and China, which will eventually take over the paper markets.
Chris, it's been great talking to you.
You as well.
Have a great week. My guest
too.
has been Chris Marchese. Thank you. My guest is Chris Marchese. He's the mining analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. You might also want to check out his other website, richesinresources.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. You can forward your comments and questions for us to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.
Silver123.net is a silver saver program designed to be as simple as possible. For as little as $50 per month, you can set up and create an automatic cost average buying program that will get silver or gold sent to your door on a monthly basis. The first step to creating an account is easy. You will supply some basic information. Next, you will add a bank account from which you will schedule your purchases. Scheduling purchases makes saving easy. Silver Saver is customizable and allows you to control the amount and the date of purchase. Once you are signed up, you are then given your affiliate code. Now you can save in precious metals and also market this program. You can use email, web pages, and multiple forms of social media to share the Silver Saver program. Silver Saver will reward you generously with physical silver or gold whenever someone you refer becomes a saver. Silver Saver not only provides you with a share code, but also allows you to place your own banner ad on a website of your own. Silver Saver is one of the best ways to start saving and accumulating gold or silver, especially at these levels. Visit silver123.net and start saving today.